this time, then we're going to blame the new Trump administration on messing up Facebook already.
They're not working close enough with Meta and Mark Zuckerberg, so.
Right. So we're going to give it a couple seconds for it to, it looks like it is going to be streaming to that. We're also on X now, which is
nice.
Second time.
There it goes.
There it goes.
We're good.
We're working this time. Sorry about that to everybody that was on the first stream. You know,
hopefully come trickling back in here.
It's not unusual for stuff like this to happen, but we're making it less usual for sure.
Yeah, it's less frequent. We're building stuff here. It's a small crew. We're getting her rolling. Jonathan's a pro. I love it, and I'm just here to have fun.
Yep. So we're gonna kick off today's episode. If you were watching the other one, you heard a little bit about Zach. It was great to get to know, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. But we're gonna go and talk about burritos, because that's what's fun to do in the morning is eat. Yum. And we've been doing this deal where we try out different breakfast foods around town. So we have done that again. We have stopped by. You don't know which is which.
Oh, I can tell. Don't worry.
You can tell. Okay. He knows what's up. So we have Son of a Brunch, and we have Qdoba. Do you like guacamole?
Oh, I love it.
Good, because I threw it on the burrito that I picked up, just hoping that someone didn't like it, so that way mine would win. Or I don't know why. Actually, I was hoping Kyler didn't like it, honestly.
Because you wanted to get like something spicy last night, because you asked if I didn't like hot stuff, and I'm like, I like spicy.
I don't enjoy spicy stuff, but I was like, if you don't like it, I'm gonna get something so hot that's gonna be brutal for you. All right, we're live on YouTube. Miranda, we finally got live on Facebook. Things are happening. It's a morning. All right, let's do this.
Yes, so we got the two burritos.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna go.
What kind of meat did you get on yours?
Steak.
I guess.
So I think
okay,
it's
good. I got steak
comparable.
on mine too. So that's we tried to do something.
What kind of sauce did you put on this?
Like a
Diablo.
No.
You did the spicy thing to me.
Like a cream sauce.
You had to sign a disclosure for it.
Yeah.
Also, well, here, let me try Qdoba's first. And while I do that, a quick shout out to management at Qdoba, who gave me this burrito on the house today.
Wow.
They were, well, it wasn't for anything we're doing. I believe it was because their systems were being like rebooted, and I got there like right when they opened, so I don't think they were ready for me yet. So I appreciate this regardless, even though I know you're not watching. North Hill Qdoba, big shout out.
Hey, they might be.
If you are, I appreciate you double so.
So that's pretty good. I like the spice in that. It's not like overly spicy, but it's got a different tang to it that makes it a little more enjoyable. You know, I normally don't eat breakfast food.
Me too.
We're all in the same boat. Yeah. We don't do this. What's this like yellow stuff in it? Eggs or something? I don't know. Yeah. I don't eat
eggs
breakfast
and potato.
food. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I normally don't get the liquid queso with my burritos. So
yeah.
This is new.
Okay, very good. Very good. All right, so that it wasn't bad. And now for the Son of a Brunch, you have to go north of town to get there. They're in a church parking lot.
Oh.
Faith Methodist.
I like the little crisp they got to this.
Mm-hmm. That's really good.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's really good.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I live near Qdoba, so that's where I typically go, but I'm going to have to check these guys out.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's solid. So they used to be in town. It probably sounds terrible with me chewing in the mic.
Oh, it's okay.
They used to be in town, and then they moved to the base, and then they recently moved off base, and now they're in the church parking lot. And I used to get their bagel. They used to have a competitor to the Eggle, Broadway Beans. Well, maybe we'll have to do that one, get an Eggle from Broadway Bean and get an Eggle from some of I don't really like saying their name, but oh well. From that food truck north of town. So, very good. I would love to eat the whole things right now, but I will spare the viewers that experience.
We're not going to make you listen to us sit and chew the entire time.
For me, though, one bite taste tests, I'm going the food truck.
Same here. Yep. Sorry, Qdoba. I know I've been there way too many times.
I think that might be part of it because I probably go to Qdoba like at minimum once a week.
Yeah.
And there was a time when it was like 2-3 times a week when I used to work at the airport. And I love Qdoba. I will continue going there frequently. But Son of a brunch. That was good. I mean, I ate it. So
Yeah, you
It
did not spare the viewers.
It was good.
One story I have about Qdoba from college is so you have the app, right, and you can order online in advance. By the time, so I started using the app in like 2013.
Okay.
I moved to Minot in 2016, and back in the day, the app used to tell you how many total visits you had. I pulled it up sometime in 2018, and it was depressing. It was in the low 200s, I want to say.
He could have been a millionaire by the time he's out of college.
Yeah, 100%.
That's funny. That's hilarious. Low 200s. That's incredible. You know, Qdoba was my jam when I was in college too. It's just good place for lunch. I enjoy their burrito bowls now.
For sure.
Of course, the classic name was way better, but they went and call it burrito bowl now. So
it's easier.
we're with it.
I used to have, since we're on it, I used to have a guy I worked with at the airport that would go to Qdoba every morning for breakfast before coming to work. So 5 days a week, and he had literally, because you would get free burritos after so many points.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He had like 80 free burritos.
He just never
saved
got
up
'em.
onto his account, and he just never used
For
it.
when he was ready for another recession. He was going to put Qdoba down.
Yeah, he was a legend. That guy was great.
That's great. Yeah. Well, there you go. If there's a restaurant that you think we should try, let us know. For our breakfast challenges, we'll do them at least once a month, maybe more. I don't know. It's not like there's a ton of breakfast places, other than going to like Denny's and Shots and stuff like that, which we don't intend to do. So
Maybe we could. I don't know.
no, that would mean I had to get up at 6.
Yeah, we'd have to. We'd have to like order it the night ahead. It'd be a mess. We'll think about it.
We have some real stuff that we want to talk about
Yes,
today. Because
real
on Burrito
podcast.
Battles, we want to talk about Trump's cabinet picks. We want to talk about the Dunseith Debacle update, and we want to talk about the Democratic Party in North Dakota. And that's why Zach's here today. So it's going to be a thrilling discussion today. Where do we want to start, Kyler?
Probably we can. Let's go back to. We were starting to talk about some local stuff before we
Yeah,
had to
let's go there.
Let's start back local, talking about Lisa Hermosillo and Alexander Doifel and how their campaigns were this fall.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, but baseline is that we're super proud of them. So Alexandra Joyful, Lisa Hermosillo, they stepped up and they ran as sole candidates in districts 38 and 40. And so, the biggest thing that we hear from folks, especially during the election and after the election, is that thank you so much for giving folks a choice.
Yeah,
right.
We've seen over recent years that those districts have gone unopposed.
Yeah.
And, it's just nice that, folks can at least look into different candidates and make a choice. And they did. And I think that they both ran really good campaigns. I know Lisa hit tons of doors. She really got people engaged. And that stuff matters. Like, over
Right.
time, even if the result wasn't what we were hoping for this time around, like,
That's how you build a party.
Yeah, they both had an increase from the last time they had opponents. So
That's huge.
You build it over time. It's not going to happen overnight, and we're just extremely thankful for them. We're extremely proud of them, and here we go from here. Like I was telling you guys, like our meeting this last Tuesday had 25, 30 people at it.
Wow.
And that's immediately
fantastic.
after an election. Like people are
Right.
tired, we're exhausted.
Yeah.
And our side of the aisle is depressed
Yeah,
after the
for
national
sure.
results, and
For sure.
still 25, 30 people showed up.
That's huge.
That's a
we're
great
good.
showing. Yeah.
No, that's exciting. So next time around, you'll have districts 3 and 5, right?
Correct.
And do you anticipate it being a closer race because there will not be the presidential election involved?
So the last time the Dem and PL had a gain in the legislature was the 2018 midterms, and that was, immediately after Trump got elected the first time.
Yeah.
So I think if there's ever going to be an opportunity, it's going to be the Trump midterm in 2026, especially as we're going to get into some stuff later.
Yep.
We'll see how the things go, and it could present a good opportunity. It's, these are R plus 30 districts, so it's going to.
Incredibly difficult in the Minot area.
Yeah. Somewhere. Yeah. Exactly.
But our goal right now is, we talked about at our meeting, is that next time we are having full slates because, watching Lisa and Alex put in so much into these races while being alone, that had to be so hard for them.
Right.
So
Right.
our number one goal is full slates, District 3, District 5.
So
2026.
full slate, one senator and 2 representatives?
Yes.
Very good. Very good.
Well, if by chance, I might be a little overstepping here. Tell me if I am. But if by chance there's ending up being more than just 2 running from the primary, I feel we'd be more than happy to host a debate at that point.
Yeah, we've actually talked a little bit about that. That'd be fun to, find folks who are, willing to, have 6 candidates per district.
Yeah.
Think about what kind of buzz that could draw.
Undoubtedly so.
Even if 3 of them are like, I'll just do it to do it. Like it would generate press. It would generate a discussion, and that kind of stuff matters.
The thing that we focus here is the word conversation.
Undoubtedly.
That's what we want. We just want to be able to create quality conversation for Minot, for our viewers, for our listeners, so that way great things can happen. And I feel like that's sometimes what's missing in the state, but even locally sometimes. We've had our media removed from us. We still have the Minot Daily, and they do a good job. But you don't have, beyond that, you don't have much commentary, you don't have much update and stuff. And I feel like that is something that is missing from the Minot area, and it becomes very, very, an echo chamber is what some would call it.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to have those discussions.
Yep.
But, okay, so we can look forward to District 3. What district are you in?
Chair of District 5.
Okay, so there's a chance.
There's a chance.
There's a chance Zach could be on the ballot?
Yeah, I spent my 20s as a perennial candidate for office, and so I maybe hopefully got a little name recognition out there.
Right.
I'm 31 now. I guess the way I put it is that we're going to find candidates. I got to find at least 3. So if it's folks who are more established in the community and I can just support them, great.
Right.
If I'm one of the 3, we'll see.
So when you think about that, about potentially being a candidate, come on, Leif. Would Republican candidates be willing to debate? Yes, they would.
Of course they would be. I have no doubt about that.
So when you think about being a candidate, do you ever think about the time involved in session and how that affects job, and what's kind of the discussion that goes on in your head or with your family on that?
Yeah, we are a citizen legislature, so it is a significant time commitment, and it's interesting. Like when I first ran in 18 and 20 and such, I was upper manager at Target, and so the interesting thing is that a lot of the heat of the election season was during Q4 when we're the most busy.
Gotcha.
So
that's very difficult.
I'm in a different career now, like sales manager that goes to gas stations all across the state, so it's way more flexible. Bottom line with my family, my wife is super supportive. She understands this is my passion, and I got a 1-year-old now, and so
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, he can't voice his opinion yet, but I don't think he'd mind too much.
He'd be on board with it.
Yeah. So it's a significant time commitment, but my wife and I have very similar values, and she understands that this area could use a little balance, and so she supports it 100%.
Now, you also recently ran for the Ward County Commission in the write-in ballot, which was the most fun thing in the world, to have that many to have not enough candidates and then that many write-in candidates. It was fantastic. How did that go? I know it didn't go as you wanted it. I get that part of it, but just obviously
what was
that
the thought
campaigning
process that took you through
thought
that?
process, but you also campaigned and you were able to get momentum, and you probably exceeded the 300 signatures. No, you didn't. Okay,
so
I wasn't sure if you exceeded and it was just you were the lowest, or how that worked. Honestly,
it was the lowest. So for my situation, I guess the reason I did that was because there's press and articles about it, but my wife and I went through an extremely challenging situation.
I was reading
with,
about that.
Ward County Social Services, and we ultimately won that case because it was that obvious. We didn't even have a hearing. Like, they dismissed everything before we even got in front of an ALJ. It was the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life. And so coming out of that, like, we exited that situation, like, just a couple weeks after it was announced that there was a undeclared vacancy. So I gave it my best shot, getting
it's
people
so
to write your name in, especially Raknerud.
Yeah.
Like, not that
Zach.
spelling wasn't the issue in my case, but it's tough, like, to get people to not just engage, but to write your name in.
Yeah.
And, it's...
Talk about name recognition.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
You go and you have a name, and we'll pick on him, Ron Merritt.
Sure.
That name's been around Minot forever.
Yeah, as long
with
as I
the
can
Minot
remember.
Park, you just knew Ron Merritt, that name, right?
Yeah, he's always been associated with the city.
So that's a name that's really easy to remember. She's watching, so Miranda Schuler, that's just her name that's easy to remember. And you have good name recognition as well with the stuff that you've done at the state level and stuff like that, but it is really hard to get someone to actually remember your name when they're writing in one candidate.
Yeah,
So
and without paid media, I mean, it's all
Oh,
face to
yeah.
face, and so that becomes a challenge, especially when working full time and having a baby and all that. So I'm glad to have done it. It's we'll see moving forward.
Absolutely.
2 years will be here before we know it.
2 years we'll be doing candidate interviews. Zach will be one of the candidates. That's what I heard from the
We'll see.
discussion. So
That's speculation.
We're looking forward to that, allegedly.
Yes. Okay. Regardless, looking forward to 2 years. But before 2 years, we have to get through this year. And
Before we get to this year, we got to get to these cabinet picks.
yes, we finally transitioned there. It's been a fun couple days. Trump's been announcing a boatload full of cabinet picks this whole week long. I have a list pulled up here of everyone that's been
Good job.
announced at least so far. A few of the notable ones, just picking and choosing a little bit here. We'll start local, relatively local. Kristi Noem, governor of South Dakota, chosen as the secretary for Department of Homeland Security. That's an interesting pick. She is a hardline Trump supporter, so you can, I think, very much assume she will push whatever agenda he wants for anything towards the border. She's
Just go through the names.
Do we want everyone? Just do the whole
go
thing
through
so far?
go through your list, and then we'll
If you have takes on them,
yeah,
we'll go
and
through
then
it as
and then
we get
we'll
there.
go through the takes.
All right. Well, so Kristi Noem. For his chief of staff, he chose Susie Wiles, who is I'd never really heard of before, but apparently she is a big-time underboss in the Republican Party.
And she was very involved in the campaign, I believe.
Yep.
So
Pretty much ran his
that's
campaign.
pretty a classic move there.
Yeah, no,
When
undoubtedly.
someone's very involved in the campaign, that a lot of times they become the chief of staff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure David Axelrod was Obama's first chief of staff. 8 years ago, Trump's first, I can't even remember. He had a lot of chief of staffs. For Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
Okay.
Interesting pick with the history that those two have had together.
Probably my favorite so far. Of the
Yeah.
picks.
You think so?
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Get to these names because I want to go the favorite and the worst.
Okay.
But
Secretary of
there's no
Defense.
context.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
Okay.
Controversial one there. Attorney General Matt Gaetz, Congressman from Florida.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one, undoubtedly. For the Director of National Intelligence, former Democrat Tulsi Gabbard.
Yep.
Then for Ambassador to the UN, New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, big Trump supporter. Ambassador to Israel, old man Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas.
I thought that was a good pick.
I can't.
I'll explain why.
I didn't think he was still around. Special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff. National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz. CIA Director John Ratcliffe, old Secretary of Defense, I think.
Okay.
Then Lee Zeldin, former congressman from New York and ran for governor there like 2 years ago. He is the EPA administrator, so that's an interesting pick. White House counsel will be Bill McGlinny. So McGlinny, the main attorney for the White House. Then border czar Tom Homan, who been very vocal critic of the border. And then the two interesting ones for the Department of Government Efficiency, the Doge Department, Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk.
Okay.
And that's what's been proposed so far.
Right.
Obviously, there's many more cabinets to be announced. Burgum, we haven't obviously talked about. And clearly no one's been... still all has to be approved through the Senate next spring.
Potentially.
Yeah.
So, first off, and you get to start.
Me.
What's your favorite pick?
My favorite one? I think probably Pete Hegseth at Secretary of Defense.
Oh wow. Okay.
I like that it's out of the box. I'm not
Okay.
a huge Pete Hegseth fan, but I like the fact
You like
that
the idea.
I like
the idea of
principle
Pete.
behind it. Yes.
What's your favorite one?
If you have one.
You already
Yeah,
kind of
it's
said it, but
Marco Rubio. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of a calming, like at least kind of sort of establishment figure. And
Right.
So that's who I'd go with. Yeah.
yeah, makes sense.
9 years ago, he was the future of the Republican Party.
Right.
It's crazy how things change.
Yeah.
He had small hands. If you didn't have that, he could have been. He
Still
could have been.
done. Hey, he won Minnesota in the primaries, I
Nice.
think.
Well, that evisceration of the debate of 2015-16, where he said quit saying the robotic lines, like that was
It just did him over.
That
was game over at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
that was the moment Trump, I think, really rose to, like,
Yep.
iconic.
Right.
Jam
My
high
favorite
fives.
one. Oh man, I honestly don't know if I have a favorite.
I would have said that, but
I know I
you
had to
made me
choose
pick,
one.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that I like the concept of Pete. I like the out of box. I don't know anything about Pete, so I can't really comment him. So I won't choose that one as my favorite. I also like the principle of Mike Huckabee, and the reason why I like it is because I don't know. I mean, Mike Huckabee has been so far out of the political spectrum of things, but he will be probably one of the. It seems like he'll be very good for relations with Israel. Like I feel like that because that's his background is there and stuff like that. So I feel like that could be good. that's why I think that's a good pick. So
Double.
maybe that'll go with my. It just seems like that makes sense. Out of all his picks, that one makes sense. Maybe the Rubio one would be close to it for the Secretary of State. So now let's go with the least favorite pick.
I got an honorable mention for the favorite one, and that's Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence. I do like Tulsi Gabbard.
But why national intelligence?
She was what, in the National Guard? She's a lieutenant colonel, so she has some military experience. And she was a congresswoman too, of course. So
Yeah.
I feel like he thinks she's the one to help tab change.
I made tacos one day. I could be a cook.
You are technically a cook.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Some of his picks are just interesting to go around.
No,
least favorite. I think we're all going to agree on the least favorite.
Yeah.
So we might have to go with our second least favorite. If it's all the same, we're going to go with our second least favorite.
Does anyone have a least favorite other than Matt Gaetz?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my least favorite
So
too.
we'll talk. Let's hold on that for a second. We'll
Yeah.
we'll talk that in a second. So, past Mike Gaetz or Matt Gaetz, least favorite one.
I don't know that I have a least favorite beyond that, honestly. And I'll be the guy that says it because I was calling for this. Because there's not like something like they're all going down the same line. It's not like there's one that's a complete outlier other than Matt Gaetz because of the past. And then put him in attorney general, like that's weird.
Rubio's a remote outlier. He's not a Trump lieutenant by any means in comparison to some of the picks.
Yeah. But he started coming around.
100%. Yeah, no, he's an ally of Trump without a doubt. Like there's no doubt about that.
In this cycle, he started coming around. It felt like more than past cycles.
Oh, for sure.
And so I think that makes good sense for Secretary of State because that's probably one of those places where you don't want to have Elon Musk being Secretary of State. No. What I'm saying is you don't want a complete outsider being Secretary of State.
Undoubtedly.
So
Henry Kissinger did it like 50 years ago. That was fine, right?
Yeah.
That went great.
Yeah.
So is there anybody that, as far as a second least favorite, that is really high up there?
This is just probably, I just don't like Elise Stefanik, so I don't like her as the direct ambassador to the UN.
But you just don't like her.
I'm not a fan. Yeah, I'm not a fan of how her. I don't like how she speaks. I don't like the way she presents herself a lot, and her being as our main foray into the world. I'm not sure if I love that, but like you said, I don't necessarily, other than the Gates, I don't think I hate any of them. Zach?
Sorry, Kyler. I got to go with Pete Hegseth.
Yeah,
that's probably my second. I mean, I got to be clear. Like, I have issues with a lot of these, obviously, coming from my side of the aisle. Like, I think a lot of them are really bad, and like, that's why I think it might be opportunities in 2026. But for Pete Hegseth in particular, like, you know, I do want to be clear. I wish the best for all these if they end up being confirmed and they end up, you know, in these roles.
Yeah.
I hope they succeed, and I hope they do great because that means America succeeds and that we do great.
Exactly.
But I have concerns. So with Pete Hegseth, the reason I would choose him is because, number one, he's a talking head on Fox News. Obviously, he has, you know, military experience as a major in the National Guard. But the Pentagon is the biggest bureaucracy on planet Earth.
Undoubtedly.
And, you know, I'm in the Master of Public Administration program at UND right now. I'm about 2/3 of the way through it. So you kind of learn a lot about bureaucracy and how it works and how complicated and intricate it is. So when you talk about, like, not only the biggest bureaucracy, but the most vital to our nation's security, I really think that, you know, going from a retired 4-star general to somebody who has a lower rank than even the press secretary of the Pentagon concerns me. So that'd be my second.
Understandably so. Yeah, I don't love Pete Hegseth, but I love the principle of the pick of getting someone that's a very, very much an outsider to it. But I completely understand where you're coming from on the Hegseth reservations personally. Yeah.
But it sounds like your reservations aren't necessarily even with Hegseth specifically. It goes to the principle against the principle that Kyler's even talking about. You wouldn't want an outsider. Essentially, am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, when it comes to managing the Pentagon and the giant bureaucracy with it, you know, I think that, you know, you need a steady hand. And, you know, I do believe that, you know, with his inexperience and stuff, I think it's going to be a situation where he probably won't change a whole lot because it's a daunting task. I think we'll see, you know, maybe the military members won't do, you know, DEI modules on their computers anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's, you know, like, it's whatever. That's not going to impact us much. And I understand why folks are frustrated with that kind of stuff. But
I guess potential negative, do you think he could, since he has the limited experience, do you think he could just be Trump's third hand as the Secretary of Defense and just, for lack of better words, do what Trump wants him to do at that point?
Well, yeah, that's my concern overall with the Trump administration is I think it's going to be a lot of, you know, loyalties, number one. And so, you know, there was certain actions like during his first presidency, like that, you would concern me. Like we have the random, not really random, but like just out of nowhere striking of an Iranian general. And, we had COVID right after that. So thankfully it didn't escalate. But I think this time, if we were to do that, that's going to escalate to a hot war. And that concerns me. So
what's your guys' opinion on this? Trump, this is not necessarily a take that I'm taking, but it's just a take out there. Trump will be the top 3 most effective second-term president in history. Not effective is the wrong word. I'll use active because I know that we would have to argue or discuss what effective meant. But typically, when you have a second-term president, they're effective and then they're almost lame duck. They're like, I'm just chilling now.
Oh, I agree. I think that he has no re-election to worry about. So I think that
you think he'll be lame duck, or do you think he'll be very active?
Very active.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be legacy building at this point.
Yeah.
So that's what gives me hope in all this. Is I really do. I've heard folks say that, at the end of the day, he wants to be liked.
Yeah.
And he wants his legacy to be good. So I'm hoping that the worst impulses will be, reined in a bit, and he'll be focused on being a unifier. But time will tell.
Right. Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
I'm racking my brain trying to think of second-term presidencies that were exponentially active, and FDR.
I have no idea what
Nixon
happened in it,
before Watergate.
Seems like Reagan had to
China.
be somewhat active. Just seems like he would
Reagan
have to.
second.
Well, it depends
pretty
too,
terrible.
because President Obama had not only didn't have control of the legislature, he lost a significant portion of it. So it's you can only do so much through executive action.
That's what's really weird about this second term. It's because of the breakup in it. That is just very, very weird. Somebody says, I bet he puts his face on a coin. I mean, it's probably already on a coin. Let's be real. I get what you're saying, though.
We're not going to discontinue the penny. We're going to change the penny.
Exactly. With inflation, because of Biden, inflation will be It'll be worth 2 cents. They'll all be wheat pennies, but my face will be on it.
Yes, of course. The dual penny.
Which and I call out Biden inflation only because that's what he would say. I'm not getting into the actual numbers of inflation, all that. That's not what we do here. We just talk about stuff in generals.
How about Biden and Trump meeting at the White House yesterday?
Went all right.
I thought it was so surreal to see the two of them and the First Lady Jill Biden standing together, smiling in a picture. I don't know.
That happened in 2020, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Didn't it?
Right?
Oh, okay. No, it didn't. That's
remember, there was COVID, right? Something else.
Let me ask you this on that. Do you feel like there's a rift between Harris and Biden?
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. It's tough because it wasn't, I don't think that Harris and Biden have the rift. He was pushed out by, you talk about the biggest names in the Democratic Party. Yeah. And so I think with what he actually did on the way out is that I think it sounds like through reporting that both Obama and Pelosi wanted a blitz primary of some sort. Mm-hmm. And so when Biden announced he's dropping out, 20 minutes later he puts out, and Harris, I'm endorsing her. So that was kind of his last nope, if I'm getting out, then you're having her kind of thing.
Nice. Okay.
And that's not to speak poorly of Harris. I think she ran a good campaign. It's just when you're introducing yourself to the country in 3 months,
it's hard.
There's
tough.
so much you can do at that point.
Yeah.
And you're, regardless of merit, why, you're running off of a very unpopular incumbent's ticket. So
Did you all see the stat that for the first time since 1905, every single incumbent government in the entire world lost ground?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Post COVID.
Yeah.
Yep. It's been incredible. The Conservatives in the UK, which had a 12-year run, got kicked out. So many center left governments all over Europe have been kicked out to the opposite end of the spectrum, and it's like you said, it's been a global thing.
Yep. It was gonna
Interesting.
It was going to be tough for any incumbent party this year. So it's if I can give a real quick hot take on the election itself, it's such a weird dichotomy for me because when I look at policy that was passed in the legislature during Joe Biden's term, I think he's been probably the most effective president in my lifetime. Okay. But I think this loss is squarely on his shoulders.
Okay.
And I think that's because back when he was running in 2020, he said he didn't commit, but he said, I'm going to be a transition candidate for the next generation. And
there are some heavy implications.
Implications. And while he didn't commit, I think that, being over 80 years old, he should have recognized that, I'm slowing down. It's time for me to step down. And in 2022, he should have said, I'm going to be a one-term president. Mm-hmm. Let's have a full nationwide primary, because a lot of people, understandably, felt kind of cheated by the fact that the Democrats didn't have a full primary. And if we would have been able to bring out, like, it probably would have been 15 candidates again.
Oh yeah.
What about Dean Phillips?
Yeah, he
tried.
He tried. I would give him credit, but like that's that way it's not going to happen versus an incumbent president.
No, completely so. But
Do you think RFK would still be in the Democratic Party?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No,
How do you feel about that? You got Tulsi Gabbard, you got RFK, you got people like that, and is it that they were conservative all along? Conservative, that feels like a stretch. Or is it that the Democratic Party is moving in a little bit different direction?
I think that the two, I mean, this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think the two are really, really, they like the celebrity aspect of politics, and they like to be in the spotlight, because you look at somebody like Tulsi Gabbard, like she was one of the only people in Congress who broke and supported Bernie Sanders when he ran.
Mm-hmm.
And, Bernie Sanders is the reason I got into politics.
Sure.
So it was interesting for me to see her make such a wild swing, and, just to see her like immediately become a talking head on Fox News and everything. Like the vibe I get from her is that she likes the celebrity of it, and she saw a wing, and where she's like, I'm going to be the one who left the left and go there. That's
Makes
just my
sense.
opinion.
she saw
on
the
it.
niche to fill, kind of.
Exactly.
Got her in national intelligence.
And she
It worked for her.
Yeah,
worked out.
she did it. If that's what she did it to the best
Yep.
she could have.
Yep.
So how about this before we get off this? Do you obviously understand why no one stepped up to try to oppose Harris in the nomination? The unity at that 90 days out is probably your best bet.
Yep.
Do you think someone should have? Do you think like a Josh Shapiro should have, or Andy Bashir should have tried?
No, I don't. It was kind of the worst of both worlds, where we had 3 months, and I think if you're in that position to have Harris be the VP and then just to say, just kidding, you're not worth it to even consider. Like, I know like a primary, like a blitz could have maybe worked, but it was such short notice. I don't really know if it would have helped.
Had he dropped out prior to the debate,
Should have been a full nationwide. Like everybody should have got to vote on it. Like
100%.
Yeah.
But I guess the one thing I have with that too is, had something worse happen to Biden where he couldn't have ran,
Right.
it would have been Harris unquestionably.
Yep.
No one would have doubted that.
Yeah, and I think there wouldn't have been a bad taste as far as like, just voluntarily stepping aside, voluntarily.
Yeah,
But
voluntold by.
voluntold, yeah. I mean, here's the thing though. You saw the reports in the New York Times, right, where it said that last year, like 2023, the Biden team had internal polling that showed that he was not only going to lose to Donald Trump was going to get 400 electoral votes.
Yeah, like he was.
The map they had was the West Coast and some New England states was all that Biden was set to win.
He was on like board of like Bush 88 kind of take.
It was going to be bad, and so that's part of the reason why I just really I thought he was a great president legislatively, but this falls on him as far as this loss.
Fair. It's reasonable.
Interesting. Good discussion there. Let's talk Dunseith Debacle.
Oof. Had a day yesterday, huh?
Had a day yesterday. So first off, what's going on in Dunseith is allegedly there is a building. The building is really there. We've seen
that's
it.
not alleged.
That's verified.
The building is present.
And in that building, Benchmark Electronics used to be in there. Benchmark, what does Benchmark do, Kyler?
Benchmark Electronics, for some 30 years, from the 80s up until 2015, made a whole bunch of different electronic parts for anyone from Honeywell to IBM to Northrop Grumman to General Electric, all over the spectrum, all kinds of different things. But that did include different kinds of military components as well as aviation equipment.
They shut down operations in 2015.
Yes.
In Dunseith.
Yep, they closed end of 2015.
And from their ashes, not directly actually, because alongside them there had been another company called
Chiptronics, and they had been, I think, actually originally started in like the 70s, but since the 90s we're working with Benchmark.
Okay, and what did Chiptronics do?
Chiptronics for Benchmark was a distributor, so they took everything Benchmark made, Chiptronics took and distributed it to wherever they needed it to be sold to.
Gotcha. And so they got a commission or whatever of the contracts.
Did a lot of the middleman stuff for Benchmark.
Did Benchmark do any military stuff?
Benchmark did, for sure.
Yeah.
Northrop
Grumman, Honeywell,
who sells to all kind. Yeah.
Great. All right. So that's kind of that's
confirmed.
Yeah, that's a little bit of the backstory.
Yep.
Okay. So after 2015, Benchmark closed. Chiptronics is just a distributor. That's all they are. They don't manufacture stuff. They're just a distributor. Over the next 7 years, apparently, allegedly, documents showcasing it work continued to be going on in this building. Some of it
Because for the first year afterwards, Chiptronics leased the building
Right.
out from the city of Dunseith.
exactly. So I was going to say some of it was known that there was Chiptronics was still in the building, and then eventually that all expired.
And they were doing like some kinds of like metal work or some kind. They had some kind of.
This is where there's a little bit of murkiness in
Yeah.
the water. Now, we say that to kind of build a little basis of what's going on. For it, we did an initial interview with Charles Hofer, who is now the owner of that building in Dunseith, and that was released last Friday. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it, as things go. And we are working on releasing a second video that is actually going to go through and showcase evidence. Some of this evidence will be invoices that was found in the building. Some of this evidence will be meeting minutes or
Handwritten notes on meeting minutes.
On meeting agendas and presentations and stuff like that, showcasing what was being talked about. Of course, at the time, nobody would have a reason to lie. So have that stuff, and then there's also other things that is going to be released eventually. The episode went a little bit longer than what we thought, so it's going to be a part 1 and part 2. There's recordings with FBI agents and all that fun things of stuff that's going on. There's just a plethora of evidence. Okay, and I'm not going to talk about it all right now, but the point of it is that's going to be released. It should be released today. And once that's released, I encourage you to go watch that if you care at all about what's going on in Dunseith. If you don't, totally understand. But if you do, watch that because it's going to really begin to show that there is some stuff that needs answered. There are questions that need answered, whether that is from people in Dunseith or whether that is from people in our own government. There are some questions that need answered. This building should have been scrubbed. This building should have not have had parts in it still.
And when he did contact the government to come and scrub it, it shouldn't have taken them weeks to get out there, and it shouldn't have taken 3 attempts to scrub it, and it's still not being scrubbed properly.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It seems like this is just based off conversations with Charles. What he's saying is like there will be officials that will get involved. They'll understand what's going on, and then you can't get a hold of them.
Can't get someone new he has to talk to, and it's
crazy stuff, Zach.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's been completely out of my brain space.
Sorry
I'm
to
going
hit
to
you
tune
with
into
that.
that episode
Right.
for sure. That's wow.
It's worth taking a look at again. For us to go and so going back to who the Dakotan is, we want to create conversation. So we're not going to use that and say we'll create spam and falsehoods and stuff like that. So can't go that far. But on the other hand, when you have this much evidence, it feels like it's a fair thing for somebody to be able to go and tell their story. And so if there's somebody that was on the other side that said, hey, some of this stuff isn't true, and you had evidence of it, then we would love to hear that story as well and have that story be told. We're not trying to pick winners and losers and just propagate one side. We're not into...
We want the whole of the story to be told. So if anyone out there has anything alluding of any kind of evidence to anything other than what you'll see in today's video, we highly encourage you to come out and talk to us. And we'd love to host you on the podcast.
Absolutely. So that's the update of what's going on in Dunseith. If you have not followed the story at all, go back and watch the video the podcast that we've already put out last Friday on our YouTube channel. If you already have watched that episode, then we will have another one released. It should be sometime today. So that's the update in Dunseith.
It's happened. Or happening.
Well,
it's occurring. The wheels are churning.
The wheels are definitely churning now. Feels like this was a pretty epic one. We had a Burrito Battle. Congratulations to the winner.
Yeah.
We had good conversation on national politics and state politics. It all trickles down.
Heck yeah.
And then we got the Dunseith Debacle update. Anything else that we need to talk about?
You don't have to comment if you don't want, but
oh, no.
Trigby Hammer running for House in 2 years again?
No, I don't know about that one. Actually, honestly, I haven't really talked to him about
Fair
that.
enough.
We'll see if
How does it shake up? I know you can't comment too much because
Actually,
all of this is speculation.
How about this? How's he doing after the loss?
He's good.
Is
He's
he
in
good?
great spirits.
Okay, good,
So
good.
yeah, part of our meeting on Tuesday was
Was he present?
Oh yeah.
Fair. Good.
Yeah, he wasn't just present. He was like fired up, and he was, ready to keep on. Like he even said like a couple months back, like while the race is going on, that no matter what happens, I'm coming home to the Service Valley DMPL.
Sure.
And he's going to be a staple for us. So
Awesome.
we're extremely proud of Trigby.
Yeah.
Like, he ran a great campaign, and yeah.
So how do you feel like that shakes up in the Democratic Party of Christensen? She's ran twice. Does she potentially run again? Does she look at a different spot? Like, I know talking with them, a huge thing was developing name recognition, and it feels like that started to happen this year. And we've talked about it ad nauseum on the show. You've heard probably some of our comments on what we think is going to happen. You may not be able to speculate at all because you might actually know some stuff, so you can't talk. But got anything to share on that?
As far as like the future you're talking about,
Yeah,
right?
like either
28
Yep.
time frame.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot as far as like, electoral stuff that will happen, but what I can tell you is that one thing we've identified as like both the Service Valley DMPL and the DMPL as a whole is that we're not talking to North Dakotans enough. We're not meeting them
Okay.
where they are. And so what I would expect, and like, not to say it on another podcast, but it sounds like there's going to be some left of center media appearing in the next few months. Just
they're going to try to compete with us.
there's no left of center media right now in North Dakota, really. So
We're trying to be centered.
Try.
We're probably a little right of center, aren't we? What are we, Zach?
Yeah,
Yeah, I right of center. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right of center.
fair. That's reasonable.
Yeah.
I can. I think
Hey, that's
a
how
fair
North
take.
Dakota is.
That is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like-
think that's a fair take. I think that's probably how most of our. So again, preface. I think and probably this is how most of our viewers probably lean towards as
Yeah,
well.
definitely. Yeah, and so it's going to be up to us as like the DMPL and everybody else to like try to change minds. And so a lot of this, like another kind of take we have about the election is it's a brand issue with the Democrats. Like right now, people look at the Democrat Party and they just kind of see, wonky technocrats that don't really care about them. And
Yeah.
so we're going to need to get a better message. Like I think that I told you I got into politics because of Bernie Sanders, and I think that at this point it's clear that he had a point, and that the Democrat needs to go in that direction to like really
And-
take on establishment stuff.
No, without a doubt, his populism resonates.
Yeah.
Regardless of the politics that might go associated with it.
Yep.
And I think that's clear with what's happened with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Populism is back in America.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the things he said during the campaign that were really extreme, like the eating the pets in Springfield, and like he didn't lean against
the
like being a
dogs.
moderate in the general, and he still won. So
He got his.
That probably won him the election. The cats and the dogs. That probably won him the election.
it's all about the
Could've.
narrative.
It is.
It's all about TikTok
Yeah, and memes.
and the memes.
Probably. I need to get on that.
Yeah.
I haven't
We
done
do
that yet.
too. Yeah. We were talking about that too.
It's all about Instagram Reels, that stuff, and you get a viral moment on that. That might get you. Isn't that weird that we're probably in a time where there's some people that be swayed by the funny things rather than the policy?
Yeah, you see a funny meme, so you think.
Like,
I'm
oh
gonna
yeah,
vote
that
for this
guy's
guy.
awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad.
It's
All right.
the world we live in.
Well, we have came, we have conquered, we've done it all. Appreciate you coming on. It's
Thank
been
you,
good
Zach.
discussion. We'll have
Yeah.
you on again.
Appreciate it. It was a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. Be sure to check the episode that we're going to be releasing later today. We also have a Mind Not Matters episode coming out with the Downtown Association Director Chad Wright. And then next Tuesday, we'll be back, 2 p.m., Mind Not Talk.
Live.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Have a great rest of your day.